My name is Dr. Stephen Strange, also known as Leonard, and I'll be giving my talk on time management. People who seem to question, you know, how do I get better at managing my time? Well, as a master of mystic arts and, the soul wielder of the power, the time stone, I don't even remember what stone I possess. Um, I will kind of give my thoughts and we'll go into this together. So let's dive in. So we're going to talk about time in and of itself, kind of what it is, um, time management within and outside of engineering, statistics, which will be pretty shocking in terms of the numbers that are presented, and tips on getting better at time management within and also outside of engineering. So what is time? Time is absolutely not money, right? Contrary to the belief that, oh, time is money. No, it's not. I'm going to tell you straight up, it is not money. Money is a resource, a valuable one, but still a resource that can be wasted but regained, right? Time, on the other hand, is inevitable, controllable, constant, and doesn't care what you do with it. Time, unlike money, is a resource that cannot be regained. You waste time, you can't, and if you waste time, you cannot gain that time wasted as a result. You just lost, that time. There's nothing you can do about it. You got to move on. Right? Money, you lose it, you can gain it back. Just go to a casino. But don't actually gamble. That's not beneficial. Time management. Let's talk about it within the context of engineering. So, is the way you're managing your time also maximizing leverage? And on a side note, if you hear some feedback, some static noise in the background, I'm sorry. Tried to kind of fix that before this, but seems like I can't. Otherwise, let's keep going. So, is the way you're managing your time also maximizing leverage? So, in the book called The Effective Engineer by Edmund Lau, he described leverage to be the impact produced divided by the time invested. Now, that is different from wasting time. If you're wasting time, you are still caring about the impact produced, but you don't necessarily care about the quality of the impact produced, right? There's a big difference here. And it's still, utilizing the amount of time you have left. But in the case of leverage, you're utilizing time as a valuable resource, right? And you actually care about how much time you have versus, oh, let me just do everything last second and whatever happens. No, leverage is you care about the what happens while utilizing the time in order to create a beautiful piece, a valuable and quality kind of piece. So how do we do that? How do we better do that? So you got to ask yourself, are you putting tasks that block others or are dependent on others to review first? Like, are people dependent on what you're doing? If so, you probably should rank those high, pretty up there. Are you ranking, so in terms of ranking, are you ranking what needs to be done by the level of impact, the necessity, and the type of value expected over the ones that aren't as valuable or as significant or important for that matter? If you are ranking those by the three on your screen, impact, necessity, and value, then chances are you might be doing it correctly. And let's go into procrastination. Okay, just don't do it. There's some people out there. There was a video about a guy, I believe on a tech talk, giving a actual TEDx talk on how he's so good at procrastinating and still doing putting out good work. Okay, we're not going to go into that because that's like the 1% of population that actually can do it well. It's like trying to ask racers or how they're so good at driving. It doesn't work like that because they're the very small percentage of the people that drive, right? It's like this case. So now let's go into this diagram. Okay, so we're gonna start at the top, right? A versus task. So if you're given a task, right, and say you start putting it off, you're gonna be prone to, procrastination. You're gonna start being impulsive. You're gonna start making careless decisions. 1 second. All right, excuse that. It's my sister's dog. So if you hear extra noise in the background, just please try to ignore it. We're just gonna try to power through these. So procrastination is actually very toxic and very destructive. Okay, it's a subconsciously dangerous mindset. Long-term procrastination could result in disliking what you do, doing things out of necessity, and not caring about the type of quality you're putting out as you first planned on. Thinking that you're not worth it, which is low self-esteem, and then inevitably regretting having procrastinated in the first place and feeling less confident, so on and so forth. And then it's going to be a loop, right? You want to avoid that. So now let's talk about time management outside of engineering. Kind of similar to within engineering, is it a task of high impact? Are you grouping them together, right? Is it a few, like, are those two tasks a few feet apart? Are they similar to each other? How important are they? And whatnot. So it's important to keep in mind, like, even sometimes as you're performing a task, thinking about the other ones. Like, how do I maximize tasks while currently performing the one I have at hand, right? Can I shift things around to make it more efficient for me to then save time, to not waste time, right? Not spend that extra bit of time. Are they chainable, right? We'll get into an example of this later on, but are they chainable? Can you wait? Can you do one while another one's finishing up? For example, like doing laundry. You can do something else while you're doing laundry. You don't have to sit there for 2 hours, wait for laundry to finish, and do something else. You can do so many things within those 2 hours. So now let's get into statistics. This is where, as a math major, I feel very relevant, but not really. But just like on your screen, it's going to look a bit shocking, right? A bit confusing, perhaps even. So get this. An average, and this is last year, and 2020 is not really any different, maybe even worse because of all this work from home stuff. The average employee spends about 2 hours a day recovering from distractions. So if you're talking about an 8-hour workday, that's 25% of the working day is just recovering from wasting time. Most people check their phones an average of 58 times per day, right? And we're going to tie this with the next one. Half of all phone checks happen within 3 minutes of a previous one. So if you do the math, and this is just excluding all the factors, just raw numbers, that's about 3 hours of your day is just from phone to phone, right? Potentially. And that's just unnecessary. It's stupid. Like, I don't know why this happens. And people always wonder why am I wasting time? What am I doing that's causing all this unnecessary waste of time, right? Chances are it's maybe because you're doing something stupid, like checking your phone every 3 minutes, which then falls into recovering from that kind of distraction. And we'll have a tip on that later. The 14% of people who set goals are 10 times more successful than those who don't, right? So if you think about that, setting a goal in the morning, and we'll get into this as well, can potentially put you within those 14%. Setting a goal in the morning, prioritizing tasks, you'll be one of those 14%. You maybe instead of 14, it'll be 20, right? Who knows? Up to 80% of the average working day is spent on activities with little to no value. AKA maybe checking email. Sometimes it's irrelevant. Responding to a text message, making an appointment. But, well, it's of value, but not really within the working day. Employees do their hardest work between 9 a.m. and 12 p.m. For most people, that's true. It depends on the person. After that, productivity drops. So you want to do the most and the best that you can to have the highest leverage, which remember is outputs, like valuable outputs produced divided by the time invested. You want to maximize that within those 3 hours, hopefully. Researchers found, and this is really important, which goes against the notion of multitasking. Researchers found that productivity dropped as much as 40% when people essentially, tried to do 2 or more things at once. So you're trying to pay attention to a meeting while working on a ticket or while, working on a PowerPoint. You're not only, dividing your focus, which is the whole notion of give me your undivided attention, but you're also being 40% less productive because now you got to bounce back and forth and try to remember what you're working on, but also try to fill in blanks of the things you missed in the meeting. So here's some scenarios. So this I think is something, if the only takeaway is this, that's totally fine. Because I want you to see how important time is, right? If you're given $10, and here's an example or analogy. If you're given $10 to buy something to eat, and the only asterisk or constraint you have is that you cannot keep any of that change after that purchase, what would you do? Right? You would most likely try to buy as much food as possible within that $10 budget, $10 limit. You wouldn't go to McDonald's to go to the value menu, buy a cheeseburger and say, oops, that's it. No, because you're not. Why would you do that? You can buy 10 cheeseburgers, right, for $10 potentially, or 9 texts, whatever. You wouldn't go and just do one thing and call it quits, and then all of a sudden you regret not having bought those other 8 cheeseburgers or something like that. Essentially, you want the best bang for your buck, right? And similarly, you have 24 hours in a day. You're not going to be productive 1 hour and say, oh, I'm done. You just wasted 23 hours, essentially. You want to utilize as much time as you can to be as productive as you can. And then once you see that your productivity is falling, maybe you go take a break, right? Because you're not going to get, if you waste 24 hours a day, there's no, hey, because you didn't use it, we're going to give you 24 hours, at the end of your life. It does not work like that. If it did, I would be more than happy to waste 24 hours a day. But actually not really, because I don't want to be old and crinkly. But yeah, you don't get it back, essentially. Unless you have the time stone, but, once again, you're not me, so moving on. So here's an example. We can go about this, but, because I'm just giving a monologue at this point, I will pretty much give you my thoughts. Maybe give you time afterwards to kind of think about it. So here's a scenario. You're hungry, right? You have a meal prepped in the fridge that can be microwaved. But you also want to take a shower, and you also got to check your emails, right? I give approximate times to kind of show afterwards the potential time range you can have. So what would you do? You have 5 minutes. Your food's going to be microwaved for 5 minutes. Your showers and post-shower grooming is 10 minutes long. Checking your emails, probably 5 minutes, and eating is also 5 minutes. What I would do and this is what usually ends up happening. I'll microwave my food, and then I'll shower, or while the food is being microwaved, so I put it in the microwave. I go take a shower, or I obviously start the microwave as well. I take a shower. After I'm done showering, whatever, get changed. Then I start eating, and while I'm eating, I'll check my emails. So potentially, you can do all of that in 10 minutes, right? So microwave, right? Shower and whatnot. Oh, essentially 15 minutes, right? So you microwave your food, you shower, you come, you eat. You do essentially eating and emails together. So 15 minutes. But if you did everything individually, you're going to take at least 25 minutes. So you, depending on how you chain it, you could save time. Or you could use less time. So now within engineering, you have a pull request, you have a meeting, you also got to do a PowerPoint, and you have a new ticket. So in this case, you just submit a pull request, and engineering people will probably understand this more, but essentially you just submitted your work, but you have 15 minutes before a meeting, right? You also need to prep for a PowerPoint and also work on a new assignment. So how would you what would you do? Right? I would probably do the PowerPoint instead of working on a ticket or assignment, because an assignment might take more than 15 minutes, right? And if that's the case, I'm going to break my chain of thought. I might lose, what I'm working on. So what I'll do is I'll do the other the other task of high value, which is working on the PowerPoint, because I know I will. Well, you should hopefully get it done. Or that's something you can keep track of more, right? Working on the PowerPoint, and once you start, and we'll get into this, but once you get into the zone, it's more disruptive to be interrupted and then have to go back in. So here's some tips. Remember, time is not money, but in this case, money in the form of tips, or tips in the form of money. Okay, so plan. Have a plan. A few minutes in the morning or at the end of the day, set some time aside. Wake up a little extra early, before your QTs, before your coffee runs or whatever. Or at the end of the day, after you're done playing that game of basketball or chatting with your friends, just take 5-10 minutes, 15, maybe 30 minutes to write down how you did, what you did, and prepare for the next day. It saves you so much. You will be one of the 14%, and potentially even bump that number up. And what this does, and if you do this on the weekends too, it enforces practice. And remember, practice makes better and even perfect. Assess what was incomplete the previous day. You don't want to have a whole bunch of uncompleted tasks, because it's going to lower morale at the end of the day. It's going to be like, well, I have so many tasks, but I have all these new tasks to do. How do I organize it? You want to prioritize the uncompleted tasks depending on the level of importance in comparison, or compared to what you have to do. Hopefully that part made sense. Write it down, dude. Okay, what to me the most surprising thing is when someone asks me, why is your calendar so like full? For me, it's because I found that if I try to memorize something, right, memorize what I need to do, it becomes super frustrating if I forget, right? So what I do is I utilize all the free resources that I can. Google Calendar, for example, it's insanely powerful. There's an extension that comes with Google Calendar where it's like a task list or something, or notes section, so you can use that. There's a thing called Notion, which I was introduced to, which is essentially like it's a note-taking application, but it's super powerful. You could even use basic post-it notes, write down in a notebook. It's just so surprising how people still today manage to be so productive, as they say, productive, but they don't write it down. Like, I've had people say, oh, I forgot. Like, weren't we supposed to do this at 11? Oh, I forgot. Why'd you forget? too busy. That's the lamest excuse I've ever heard, because you have tools out there where you can write it down, right? You can set a reminder, you can set an alarm. There's no reason to forget, right? Maybe you forget to charge your laptop, that's different, right? But writing it down helps a lot. Prioritize and organize. So now that you wrote your stuff down, you should probably spend some time, maybe 20 minutes, maybe 15, 20 minutes, to organize it, prioritize it. How important is it? Is it going to produce a lot of impact? By date, if you have a doctor's appointment that needs to be set early, you're not going to wait a week to do it. You're probably going to spend some time now to put that in your calendar. Find pockets of time where you can fill it in with breaks, right? Find gaps, take a break, schedule appointments, answer emails, check your Facebook, watch a YouTube video. 5 minutes, right? And this kind of goes with this side of the technique. Time your breaks. You don't need to spend 45 minutes. Or, well, some people are different, but maybe 30 minutes is totally fine. Just go watch a video. Get your mind off it. If you take a break, that enforces a new perspective when you come back. There's so many times where I took a break where I came back, I'm like, oh, that was the solution to the problem. I just needed to, just stop thinking about it for a second. Come back with a new perspective. Use a timer that's not loud, right? You don't need an atomic bomb alarm to get a notification. Right? Reorganize, right? Now that everything's good to go, maybe plans have shifted, maybe new priorities came in, maybe you gotta adjust. Don't beat yourself up. That's not something you can control. What you can do is put into perspective and sort things out. Be accurate as you can. Give yourself maybe 5 minutes of wiggle room. If you're unsure if a task can be finished in a time slot or not, maybe you might need to give yourself an extra hour, but make sure you accommodate for that later on. And this is also, I can't emphasize how important this is. Daily retro. How did you do at the end of the day? Did you meet your goals, right? Did you finish the task that you had in hand? Are there areas of improvement, right? Did you overestimate your time? 25 minutes overtime, right? So maybe you could squeeze something else in. Did something else come up? Is there going to be a routine new interruption at 1 p.m., right? If it is, you should probably reconsider your schedule, right? How many times were you disruptive? Like, find a percent, add some wiggle room to accommodate for that. Remove distractions. Oh my goodness. So many times at work where I hear someone's phone go, not even at work, just in general, where even in a movie theater, where someone's phone goes off. Like the ringtone. It's like, it's not, say, just distracting for you, but it's distracting for everyone else around you. So silence your phone. Maybe you gotta put your phone in a different room, put it under your pillow, turn off your music if it doesn't help you get into your zone or the flow, if it's going to disrupt you. Maybe you got to find some sort of extension or create a program that'll close all your social media tabs during specific times. Manage expectations. If something isn't, maybe you have a doctor's appointment that wasn't considered. Maybe you got to tell your boss, reassess expectations. If it's for sure not going to meet a time slot, bring that up. Don't wait. And then once you get in the zone of really executing these tasks, you typically want to try to find that 100% concentration where things are just naturally flowing and you're not getting disrupted. But you got to understand that there's almost always, or pretty much at this point, there's no way for you to get 100% flow. There's always going to be interruptions. You're always going to get distracted. But you want to minimize the level of distraction. And there's a quote that stuck with me all throughout the years. Just do your best and forget the rest. If you're stuck, and this also helped me a lot, create a list of things that you're stuck on. If it's going to take you more than 20 minutes to figure something out and you just don't know how to proceed, like even after Googling and whatnot, write it down and come back to it. If you come back to it, and you still don't get it, ask for help. Don't sit there and look pretty and expect all of this to sort itself out. You need to have a process and stick with it and continue if you're stuck. And here's some resources. There's a book called Algorithms, Life, Computer Science Decisions. I recommend, as well as some of these other articles. So yeah, if you have any questions, just feel free to reach out. You know where to find me. Yeah, otherwise take it easy.